Hi, everyone. Welcome to TMT, Talk with Mike and Tom. I'm here with my partner, Tom.
Before we get started, I just want to tell you, Mike, I have just had an opportunity to look at the last TMT show and look at it with a critical eye. And if you'll remember, the format was that we were going to have a Stump Michael Baltimore episode.
I don't know. I felt stumped there for a little while. Yeah, did we win that?
Well, it wasn't the question. Of course, you are a professional counselor, and you do know the answers to the questions. So I don't think you were stumped by the question as much as the format. I finally found a way to stump you. It's ask a two-part question.
You
got part one.
Simple mind here, and that's all I've got to work with. Look, I do the best I can. A two-part question, I tend to fade out and lose that second part. So,
no, it was really
more attention next
It was a fun show. I thought it was sort of a neat show. Want to shout out to Kenneth Grant, who did the engineering on our last show, and also is producing today and doing a super job. Hey, Kenneth, thank you for all your work. And anyway, we're talking a little bit about something I don't know a whole lot about, actually, and I guess you have the topic for today, Mike.
Well, I'm wanting for us to talk a little bit about advertising, branding, getting your name out. One of the things we're trying to do here at COEHP TV is to let people know that we're streaming 24/7 on the internet, and so how do we best go about letting people know? I mean, I know, and by the way, if I can just this is breaking news, that at the end of the month, 1st of April, we have a grand opening of COEHP.TV.
Grand opening,
yes,
live.
We're giving away
Jordan Hall, beautiful Jordan Hall, looking over Mohina Woods and just a stone's throw from Hardaway High School here at Columbus State University.
I love it when you talk like that. Here's the thing. You're getting a free T-shirt, you're getting coffee mugs, you're going to be on TV, you're going to have some special guests. There may be some food. I don't know. We're going to work on negotiating that with you, by the way, a little bit later on. But, how do you get the word out to people about what you're doing? You want to get people interested, and we're in a new age of the new media. That's what people are referring it to. And so, now, Tom, I know that you're familiar with TED.com. You've watched that, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It has sort of a video format, lectures, people who are leaders in their fields.
Absolutely. Some of our greatest minds at this particular time talking about inventions and new ideas, new processes, a way to help improve our world. And so the format of that show is 18 minutes. You have 18 minutes only to present your ideas.
That's not much time, 18 minutes.
No, it's not much time. Well, I have to tell you, I just came across a new site, and this was going to be interesting to you, Tom, because you may want to use it in your classes or in some other ways, but it's called IgniteShow.com. And on Ignite, here's what happens. 18 minutes with TED.com. This is 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. And you have up to 20 slides, and each slide, it automatically advances every 15 seconds. So you have 5 minutes to get your ideas across. What do you think about that?
Well, I think probably my students would want to put that 5-minute limit on my lectures instead of me putting it on the students. And I just, you know how you get caught up in a slide, you start reading from the slide, and then you tell a war story. I think if they move the slide out of the way, you're going to have to move on, aren't you?
Well, I tell you what, the actual logo on the site is "Enlighten Me, but make it quick." So I'm thinking that's pretty good. Now, I was perusing that site yesterday. I came across Leo Laporte's video, and I want us to take a look at that in just a second. Let me set that up here for you. Many of you know that have been watching that Leo Laporte is well known in technology on the web. He ran and was a host for almost over 30 years, but back in the day it was Tech TV, which used to be on cable. Talked about technology, use of computers, very well known. Well, he's doing the same thing we're doing right here in COEHP.TV. He's doing it out in Petaluma, California.
I think we're doing the same thing he's doing because he did it first.
I think that's either way you want to go with that. Well, here's the notion. Now, he's given us some ideas about how to get across a very different way to look at what's going on, to getting out the word, building audience, building community, and making this new media really work for us. So we're paying attention to him quite often. And so he's going to talk about advertising. I want to play this clip. And Kenneth, if you can get ready to roll that clip, this is something on YouTube you can take a look at, but we downloaded it for your viewing pleasure here. It's 5 minutes, and this gives you a little insight about how IgniteShow.com works. So, Kenneth, if you want to roll that video for us, we'll take a look and come back in a minute.
Our first presenter tonight is, one of the things about living in Sonoma County is there are famous people in our midst, people who do amazing things, who just happen to live here because it's so great. So our first presenter is one of those. He's been a tech journalist for many years. We had never actually met, although we've emailed for years. And he said, "Oh, I'm glad you recognize me." I'm like, "Well, of course I recognize you. You're all over the internet." Leo Laporte is known as the Tech Guy. He also has This Week in Tech, which you can find at Twitch TV. And I want to get the title of this talk right, because it's a good one.
It says it on the slide.
Oh, okay. Leo is going to tell us why advertising is the sickness and new media is the cure.
Thank you, sir. Now, do I have to do you, Adam, or are you just going to start? That's the wrong slide. Here we go. This is scary stuff. Sorry about that. Are we ready? Do I go like that? All right, my name is Leo Laporte. For 33 1/3 years, I have been a broadcaster. And in those 3 decades, one of the things I've learned is advertising sucks. Yes, everybody hates it. Nobody likes it. But you don't want to pay for content, so we got to do it, right? Now, I'm going to tell you in the next 5 minutes why advertising sucks and why the internet is going to cure it. This is 1918, the Sears Roebuck catalog. This was good advertising. It's features and benefits. Every woman appreciates these aids, a fan, a radiator. This is a personal vibrator, very useful and satisfactory for the home. It all changed when this guy came along, Edward Bernays, in the 20s. He decided that features and benefits didn't sell enough products. He was going to use psychology, which is not surprising when you know who his uncle is. Eddie Bernays' uncle was Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychoanalysis. He said that all humans are motivated by deep desires hidden in the subconscious, and Eddie said, "Yeah, Uncle Siggy, that's a good idea. I could probably use that to sell some crap." And he did. He said, if we understand the mechanisms and motives of the group mind, is it not possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing about it? This guy was nuts. But he did it. For instance, he's the guy who came up with the idea 4 out of 5 doctors recommend. He was hired by, I'm not kidding, he was hired by the pig board to sell bacon. So he went to doctors and he said, "Doctors, isn't it good to have a hearty breakfast?" They said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend bacon." He also got ladies to smoke more. The American Tobacco Company said, women don't smoke enough because they're afraid to do it in public. He said, no problem. He brought 20 or 30 young models to the New York parade, told the press that they were freedom fighters who were going to light torches of freedom. So the photographers lined up. They took out their Lucky Strikes, puffed them. The New York Times that day said, "Girls puff cigarettes in gesture of freedom." Freedom to get cancer, emphysema, all that stuff. This guy was amazing and actually did. It made it okay to smoke in public for women. You know who that is? Do you know he invented the light bulb? Wilson is his name. He's a British guy. I forgot his name because everybody thinks Edison invented the light bulb, right? This guy patented it 1 year before Edison. But Eddie Bernays was the guy who created the Wizard of Menlo Park. He even got the United States government to issue a stamp in 1929 that said Edison invented the light bulb. The guy overthrew governments. In 1954, he got the government of Guatemala, the duly elected government of Guatemala, overthrown by painting the president as a communist because the United Fruit Company was afraid they were going to steal the banana plantations. Ever since, thanks to Eddie Bernays, advertisements have made people buy products out of shame, guilt, and no wonder people hate advertising, because advertising says that you're bad, you're awful, you stink. And also mass media came along, really supported by advertising, because it worked best when millions of eyeballs were applied to these psychological principles. The Nazis loved Eddie Bernays. Well, things have changed thanks to the internet, and this is what the good news is. This was 10 years ago in the Blue Train Manifesto. They said most corporations only know how to talk in the monotone of the marketing brochure, same old tone, same old lies. No wonder networked markets have no respect for companies unable to speak in authentic voices. We have changed thanks to the internet. We no longer want to participate in this advertising fraud. We don't want to buy things because we've been manipulated, cajoled, talked into it, stuff we don't need. We want to have conversations with companies. We want to do business with companies that are willing to talk with us at our level, right? Not trick us anymore. We want to get back to features and benefits. Now, we'll fast forward to 2004. I want to start a podcast network, but I want to make a living doing it. I have a problem, though, because my audience is really smart. We had the same problem at Tech TV when I worked there. I said, we should really, super serve the geeks. They said, Leo, there's a problem with that. Advertisers don't like geeks. They're too smart. Advertisers say that brand is the refuge of the ignorant. Smart people don't listen to advertising. I said, wait a minute, what about Apple? What about Google? What about Whole Foods? Brands work. They work when companies speak with you, talk with you, when they have a conversation with you, not when they're trying to trick you. So I went to advertisers. It took me a long time. It took me years to go to these advertisers and say, look, we're not going to trick people. We're going to move from audience to community. We're going to move from monologue to conversation. And we invite you to participate as equals, honestly, selling features and benefits. Last year, we sold $2 million worth of ads to these 7 companies. These are companies who said, yeah, okay, we'll play it that way. Every one of them, well, except Ford, gave people free versions of their product to try out. It really worked. It really worked. So my moral of this 5 minutes talk is this. First of all, when information flows freely and we are able to have conversations, the best of us rises to the top. And there is hope for media as long as it's not the mass media that comes to you and says, we're going to sell you products, but it's the personal media that gives you information you can use, entertainment you enjoy, and comes to you with sponsors that respect us as consumers. Thank you very much.
Well, Tom, I hope you were paying attention there. We weren't making too many phone calls during that 5 minutes there. But that was Leo Laporte talking about the
Leo
new media.
Laporte.
Isn't that fun? I mean, here's a guy been around 33 years in the technology and broadcasting business here, and he's got some ideas he wanted to share with us. But before we break this down a little bit, give me your general impressions of what you thought about Leo and what his message was about advertising and this new media.
First, I've got to say I'm very disappointed that in his presentation he left out one of my personal favorite advertising executives, John B. Watson, who, of course, was a behaviorist first, and he taught at Johns Hopkins, and later he was in advertising and is reputed to have been the inventor of the term coffee break. So I think that fits right in with what Leo was saying, but certainly some of the things he said were very provocative. I don't know about branding being the refuge of the ignorant, because after all,
I thought you would comment on that. Go ahead.
Everything is about branding. Even we ourselves are about branding ourselves. The clothes we wear, the car we drive, the personal presentation we put forth, it's all a brand, and it's a construct, often a construct of the ego, and I would think that would be something that would appeal to you, old Counselor Baltimore.
Well, here we go. I don't know what you meant by that on that ego thing. I'll get back to you. But this notion that Edward Bernays, he mentioned, was the nephew of Freud, and using those Freudian ideas of the unconscious and being able to control other people. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. I've got a little problem with it. But what happened was, I mean, he gave all those examples from the early part of this century all the way up to now with how we are influenced through guilt. I think he used shame. I mean, you smell bad, you got to buy our deodorant. I mean, all of those things are out there. And is that really how we want people to treat us, that you have to manipulate me into buying your product? I'm not so sure I want to buy your product if you were going to play with me like that.
Well, the whole idea is to increase sales, and if you're increasing sales, a lot of times you're increasing sales to someone who really doesn't want to buy something, who really doesn't need your product, and you've got to find a way to sell that product. Now, that being said, we all engage in the idea of selling, whether it's selling ourselves, selling a presentation. And it's interesting that we're talking about this because we use advertising often in our ed psychology classes. as a sort of springboard to the idea of behaviorism and some of these other psychological approaches.
Well, I know that this happens throughout our world. I mean, if you think about, I mean, I've read some of those studies. The music that is used in the department stores and the grocery stores are timed, and a certain songs and rhythms are put in there to keep you in the store longer to buy those products. Infomercials, those 20-minute, 30-minute infomercials where all the testimonials, this will change your life and this will do this for you. I'm a skeptic. Now, I know a lot of other people are skeptics, too, around that. And so I'm really cautious when someone's trying to sell me something. I understand what you're saying, that it is part of our life. I mean, obviously
I don't know if really you always know when you're being sold, because you're constantly being sold to on television, for instance. And you turn on television and you see a car driving down the road. Now, I guess automaker has a choice. That automaker can say, hey, this is great transportation and it's reliable. Or it can put a great-looking model in there,
right,
who's sitting next to another great-looking model.
They're all good-looking people.
And the pitch is, well, geez, if you buy this car, the model is you, and you're sitting with this other model. That's going to be you, too. Now,
that's on a primitive level, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's on a subconscious level often. In fact, if we think about it, we realize we're being pitched. But most of the time, we're not thinking about it because we're just passive viewers sitting there waiting for our show to come back on. And I wonder how many times when we go out and buy something, these techniques that are born out of behaviorism and the whole idea of suggestion, how many things we are actually sold and we're never really aware of it.
Well, I think there's a huge group of us who are influenced in that way, buying things on impulse, buying things because it's going to make us look like the model in the TV, or make us more famous or handsome, or all those kind of slimmer and trimmer, all those kind of things. But look, let's face it, I really want to be respected more. I mean, that notion of that branding is the refuge of the ignorant. And the word ignorant, it seems that advertisers have treated us as if we are ignorant.
Yeah, but isn't that a sell right there? Isn't Leo really selling us that concept? In other words, if you buy based on brands, then you aren't as bright as someone who is a discerning buyer, who looks at all the research and that kind of thing. So I wonder if he isn't selling too. He's selling his point, and his point being the pitch is there needs to be a better way of selling. Well, but he's selling it in the same way that he's accusing others of selling it.
Okay, I point taken on that. This point counterpoint here, and that was a good point. Obviously, there's this new media. I've noticed a big difference in just the last, I want to say 6 months, even, that the commercials on TV have gotten better than they were before. I think we're being played once again, but it's a more sophisticated manipulation now than it has been. If you look from those Super Bowl commercials, those of us who were glued to the set on the Olympics,
right,
we saw all those good commercials out there. The use of humor and all of those kind of things. But it's not disrespecting me or making me feel guilty that I don't have this product. It's inviting me in. And so I'm going to say that there's a little more respect being shown to people these days, and I think the media needs to be very aware of that we need to be respected as customers, as consumers, and that we can make a choice. And here's what happens, I think. Let's make a better product and provide a better service, and then we will follow. That notion, Laporte was talking about in the 1890s in the Sears catalog, where there's the benefits of buying this product, and as opposed to being sold some kind of psychosocial, jargon that we'll suddenly feel better if we buy this product. I want to know what that product does for me and how long it lasts, and is it a good product compared to others. Now, the other thing that he mentioned, Tom, let's bring this up for just a second, because I know we're probably not going to go to a break on this show, but we're going to just kind of move through. But I'm thinking that he mentioned this idea that he has built a multi-million-dollar podcast business, streaming video, exactly what we're doing here.
Yep.
He has commercials that are in his show, that his sponsors are paying for his show. but it's more about a conversation as opposed to a monologue. It's a conversation with his viewers and bringing those people in, as building a sense of community. Isn't that what we should be doing around here?
Well, I think certainly what he's doing, you see this in other venues too, and perhaps you're right. You talked about the Super Bowl ads and some of the other ads. I've noticed that more and more advertisements, especially in the areas of technology and media, that's interesting, isn't it? That it's geared toward end users of those products, but they talk about the relative merits of the product, and they talk in terms of reliability and access and those kinds of things.
Right.
I think the users of those products, that approach really appeals to users of technology, communication, those kinds of products. So maybe that will have a spillover effect. I certainly think Leo's shown that you can advertise that way and be successful and successfully sell airtime, sell ads, and that kind of thing. And in a way that it doesn't really insult the intelligence of the person who's the consumer.
Well, I think that's true, and I think he's well aware, and he's setting an example for some of the rest of us here. As we're building COEHP TV, these are issues that we're considering here because I think he has a certain loyalty by these millions of viewers that he has across the country that tune into his shows, and he has 3 or 4 shows per day with different guests on there and different hosts. And what they do is have a dialogue. They communicate new ideas and new information. It really helps. It brings people in. Now, it seems to me we want to do that here at coehp.tv. I mean, we want our viewers. This is the College of Education and Health Professions. Now, what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about education, health professions, all of the topics that come up with our shows like Education Forum and Education News Network and the Coca-Cola Space Science Center show, all of those shows. Therapy Talk, this show right here, TMT. We want to engage our viewers, and we're not selling at this point. Now, we may get some sponsorship coming up. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that because I think it's very important to keep our progress and moving forward and building our programming here. But I'm thinking that we need to build our audience by respecting them and listening to them and putting on shows that will enlighten and help them and provide a sense of entertainment but also education in a way. So I want to listen to our viewers the way he's listening to his viewers.
Well, and I think as we do the other things we do through this studio, creating ads for graduate studies, for the College of Education and Health Professions, Columbus State University, some of the other things we do, we should be very intentional as far as how we communicate with public. And of course, the product we are selling is education, and education is an investment that you make in yourself,
right,
in a way that doesn't lose value in the same way that an investment, say, when you maybe invest money in some kind of other product, it ultimately loses value. You educate yourself, it only increases in value as you add experience to that initial investment. So I think that's the message.
I like that message, and I want to be honest with the people that are that we're engaged with here in this process, and treat them with respect. And so if we can do that, I think we're going to build viewership, and we're going to build the kind of product that we want here, and that's about education and how people can better themselves. And I like the way that you put that, Tom, that this is what it's about. It's getting to know us, too. We're here at Columbus State University in the College of Education and Health Professions, and on today's show we talked a little bit about advertising and getting our message across and the new media. And so, Tom, I want to thank you for watching that video. I hope it didn't hurt your feelings about the advertising. I know you're all about branding.
Always about learning, too.
Okay, well, that's good. And
hey, before we go, I just want to ask you something about branding. The brand of our show, of course, TMT, has been talk with Mike and Tom. I was wondering if at some time in the future we might consider adjusting the brand, maybe just a little bit.
Go ahead.
It could be Tom and Mike Talk to you or something like that. Just a little maybe change to the brand.
Yeah, I appreciate that input, and we're certainly going to take that into consideration here. We'll probably have some kind of production meeting, power meeting about that a little bit later on, but we have so many fans that like what we're doing right now. I think what we'll do is stick with that, Tom, but I always appreciate your ideas about that.
You see about getting input. That's it's all about input, isn't it?
It is that. Hey, I enjoy it talking with you, Tom. You have a good
thanks,
perspective
Mike.
on this. We don't always have to agree about how these things go, but I think generally, we have the same mission in mind here with Talk with Mike and Tom, and it's on every week. You can see us. Our new schedule's coming up here at coehp.tv. We've got a grand opening coming soon.
April 1.
Wow, that's going to be great.
Yep.
I want to get one of those T-shirts that have production staff on the back
Oh,
of it.
that's one of the free giveaways if you come up here April 1st for the grand opening of COEHP TV at Columbus State University, high atop Jordan Hall, overlooking Mohina Woods, just a stone's throw from Hardaway High School. Mike, it's been a pleasure being with you.
Hey, I tell you what, Tom, I really do appreciate this show. I want to thank our viewers for tuning in, and tune in next week and watch a little more of COEHP TV. And this has been Talk with Mike and Tom. See you next time.
COEHP TV brings you programming from the faculty.
Today on Education Forum. Teacher evaluation. Who benefits?